All right. We are coming live from Occupy City Hall. I should have put the title live from Occupy City Hall at the beginning of this, but I didn't because I entitled it a lot of things. So I'll have to retroactively go back and put live from Occupy City Hall in the title. But this will be a live from Occupy City Hall. The Rockford Police Department is not here in this area at this moment. Neither are any of the other people whose names I put. So this is just me having a dialogue, or this is just this is a live. This is just a live. It's not police on the scene. All right, I just want to start this off by saying my name is Leslie Roth. I'm a member of the May 30th Alliance organization. We are a direct action organization located in Rockford, Illinois. We began an occupation of the City Hall in Rockford, Illinois on October 3rd, 2020, after on October 2nd, 2020, Tyrus Jones, an unarmed black man, was shot by Rockford Police Department officer Dominic McNeese while running away. Our occupation continued through the end of November of 2020 when Officer Dominic McNeese will be found to be justified in the attempted murder of Tyrus Jones. Our occupation continued through January 5th, 2021 when Officer Dominic McNeese would be involved in the brutal assault of an unarmed black man named Denzel Duvant, who was beat viciously by Rockford Police Department officers while he was handcuffed. There was no investigation into this assault. There was no repercussions or reprimands for the officers involved in this assault. Our occupation continued through April 10th, 2021, when Faustin Guaitigo was murdered inside of his home by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies, namely Winnebago County Sheriff Deputy Joseph Brulard. Faustin Guaitigo was shot upwards of 8 times, then tased after being shot upwards of 8 times, and then handcuffed and told to stop resisting arrest. It's very possible the last words that Faustin Guaitigo heard before he died, before he left this earth, were "stop resisting arrest," which would be apropos for the experience of anybody with black skin or brown skin in this country. Our occupation continued through April 11th, when no more than 24 hours later, Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot while running away by the Rockford Police Department, namely Officer Owen McGinnis, who has been named in lawsuits previously for assaulting citizens, and who also partook in the police riot that took place at District 1 on May 30th, 2020. And I'll say that again, the police riot that took place outside of District 1 on May 30th, 2020. He partook in that and assaulted and falsely arrested people on that day. Our occupation continued through April 25th, 2021, when Raymond Jackson would die after a high-speed pursuit took place in Rockford, Illinois by the Rockford Police Department, and the person being pursued by the police department crashed into the vehicle Raymond Jackson was the motorist of, killing Raymond Jackson and causing the children that were in the car to have serious life-threatening injuries. I wanted to, it may be people who are unaware of this, but high-speed pursuits are considered a use of force, a use of deadly force. And in this city, far too often there have been uses of deadly force around high-speed pursuits that have left innocent civilians maimed, traumatized, and dead because the police department here is too busy trying to seek thrills and be cowboys and be Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious and trying to chase suspects down on busy streets as opposed to using the tens of millions of dollars of budgets that they have to go and catch people later. So we want to say justice for Tyrus Jones, justice for Denzel Duvant, justice for Jose Gonzalez Jr., justice for Faustin Guaitigo, and justice for Raymond Jackson. And we speak about each one of those cases because it may be people who may not be able to find empathy for Tyrus Jones or empathy for Denzel Duvant, but maybe they can find empathy for Jose Gonzalez Jr. or Faustin Guaitigo or Raymond Jackson. So it becomes our job at the point in which they find empathy to extrapolate the issues out to everybody and to every family and to every individual who has ever felt the pain and the trauma of state-sanctioned violence, and make people understand that we cannot advocate for justice for one person without advocating for justice for all people. And all of us, whether it be directly or indirectly, have felt the victimization of state-sanctioned violence. The problem is that far too often we are quiet when it happens because we're just trying to make it through it. Because the state knows the thing that is the most important to people are their lives. And so when in a trade for you to not have to worry about losing your life, you are mute while your human rights are violated by these police officers. You are mute while your constitutional rights are violated by these police officers. You are mute while these police officers falsely arrest you or falsely charge you with crimes. You are mute because there has been a quiet exchange that has been made with the people and with the workers of violence in this city and in this county and in this state. And that is a compliance for your life. You comply for fear of dying. And the reason, and this is something that should be dissected deeper. One of the reasons that black people and brown people historically have been disproportionately killed by the police department, aside from the fact that their lives have been devalued, is because from the beginning of the existence of black and brown people, with white people in this country and in this nation, it has always been a non-compliance relationship. It has always been a non-compliance relationship. Black people have never had a relationship of compliance with America or with the people who were the workers of violence on behest of America. It was a non-compliance relationship when black people were brought over here on the transatlantic slave trade. It was non-compliance when they jumped into the river. It was non-compliance when black women threw their children into the ocean and jumped into the ocean and killed themselves. That was non-compliance. It was non-compliance on Amistad. It was non-compliance in Haiti. Non-compliance with Nat Turner. It has always been non-compliance. The moment that we begin to have a relationship of compliance with this country, it will be the moment that the genocide is completed. Because that is what they want you to comply with. These police officers are up here to uphold the status quo. That is it. Or else you wouldn't see 7, 8 of them outside of a trash-ass Rockford orthopedic appliance store at 1 o'clock in the morning while chalk is getting washed away. And then an hour later, it's some type of crime scene across the street. All types of police officers across the street. And if you was going to take the over-under on it, whether it would be a shooting this weekend or not, anybody that was wise and wanted to make money would take the over that it would be one. And instead of being out trying to be proactive about that, because that's not what they're here for. I don't want this to be misconceived or taken the wrong way. I understand that that's not what they're here for. But again, to illustrate it for people who may not understand it, instead of being out trying to be aware of that, they out here for chalk. They out here washing away chalk. Out here pulling out tape measures from their trunk, trying to measure if it's 50 feet between the Rockford orthopedic appliance and this other sidewalk so they can try to make an arrest. Meanwhile, 30 minutes later, it's a shooting across the street, across the bridge. Meanwhile, somewhere across town, somebody being raped. Somewhere across town, somebody's house being robbed. Somewhere across town, some child being molested, or some child being kidnapped, or some child being beat. All these other, this is the picture that needs to be illustrated. That is the realities of existence in this city, in this society. It is violent crimes happening, or it is violent actions happening on a regular basis. There's inhumane things happening on a regular basis. And if these institutions that were set up were truthfully set up to protect people and serve people against those type of actions, they would never have time to be out here standing around while chalk is getting washed up on a sidewalk in a city that boasted its most amount of murders on record last year. Look here. Look, somebody coming across now. Look. It's the fire. It's the fire. But that's from, they're going to the same scene. They all going to the same scene. This is all people going to the same scene. They probably just now letting the ambulance go through. They probably just now saying the scene clear for the ambulance to go through. They probably just now saying the scene clear for the ambulance to go through. That's one of the things they do all the time too. For people who may be unaware, that's one of the things they do a lot too. Somebody will get shot. And instead of letting the ambulance and the people who could save this person's life come through, they hold up the scene, and this person end up dying there on the crime scene because they don't care about the person's life. That done happened multiple times. Multiple times where somebody would be shot at 11 o'clock and it'd be 11:30 before the ambulance then got down there to help the person, to try to save the person, because they call themselves clearing the crime scene and trying to make sure the scene is secure. Meanwhile, the person that done been shot laying there dying on the ground. That's what the Rockford Police Department do. And that, again, these ain't no things that I'm making up. These not delusions of grandeur. These is things that's known, and people who have experienced these things know about these things. But again, this false illusion of compliance. And again, one of the things that gets into that, which is why I titled this, I named multiple different people and institutions. Jay Hanley and Tom McNamara, these white men are at the top of these racist white power structures, these racist institutions, these white nationalist institutions. These institutions that are built off the false ideology of white supremacy. They are the heads of them. They are at the top of them. They set the tone for the manner in which the Winnebago County will exist and Rockford will exist. And since the tone that they have set has been a tone of racism, has been a tone of injustice, it's the reason why racism and injustice has rolled off of all these other people out here. It's the reason why Rockford Orthopedic feels so comfortable in weaponizing the police. They've seen the mayor weaponize the police. They've watched the mayor weaponize the police. They've watched the state's attorney weaponize the police. They working in coordination, in cahoots with each other to weaponize the police. Again, the Winnebago County sheriff deputies coming out here serving the papers. We sit here a year removed from July 31st when multiple people were falsely arrested for walking on a crosswalk. Hold on, give me 1 second. I gotta get something to drink. Give me 1 second. We sit here, it's August 1st, it was just July 31st. We sit here a year removed from when these police officers arrested people for walking on a crosswalk while trying to bring awareness to people being brutalized at District 1, to people being terrorized, to people being assaulted, to people being traumatized at District 1. People who are still, to this day, are still dealing with the psychological effects of that. Never mind the legal ramifications that people have had to deal with, but the psychological effects that people are still dealing with from the things that happened on May 30th. Hundreds of people on camera documented. Still to this day, you can go through our videos, and you can go through the videos on various pages that have been connected with the struggle to end police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice in Winnebago County. And you can watch on video documented evidence of these police officers punching people, kicking people, pepper spraying people, tasing people, shooting people with shotgun, airsoft shotgun bullets or whatever, the beanbag bullets, less lethal bullets. You can watch all of these things on camera. And then they paraded a black woman up there who is now running to be the chief of police, paraded a black woman up there to say that each action that those officers took that day was justified, that each one of those officers that pepper sprayed little babies was justified, each one of those officers that tear gas women was justified, each one of those officers that punched and kicked black men was justified. As they did it, being an occupying, the Rockford Police Department is an occupying force, an occupying army in each neighborhood and community that they are stationed in. No different than the way that they go over to these other countries and they become occupying armies over there. And they do it over here while allowing the same things that they claim to go in other nations and uproot. They allow it to happen here. They allow it to fester here. They tell you they going to Afghanistan or Iraq to implement democracy. Meanwhile, the south side of Chicago been a war zone for 100 years on they watch. Oakland been like that. Los Angeles been like that. It ain't a place in this nation that's it has issues, problematic now, that ain't been like that since its inception. And since this country can benefit off of it, since the state governments and the local governments and the people who work for these institutions have found ways to benefit off of it and profit off of it, they allow those things to fester here while they lie to you about going into other nations and implementing democracy. As they go in those nations and steal the resources that they see fit, the same way that they steal resources out of these communities. If they find them a black person or a brown person that they see fit, that they feel that could be advantageous to their whatever the end goals of their institutions in, then they bring them in. You can play basketball good enough, they'll bring you in. Make music good enough, they bring you in. You can act good enough, they bring you in. If you would be a lawyer, but you would be a lawyer for them, they'll bring you in. As they continue to oppress the same community that you came from, the same people that you came from, as they continue to exploit the same community and people that you came from. And then they go to the nation that they kidnapped you from, and they do the same thing. They rape and pillage that nation for resources and say that they bring in democracy. They tell you that they take, when it's in another nation, they tell you it's democracy, and when they doing it here, they telling you that it's for law and order. It's law and order here, and it's democracy somewhere else. Meanwhile, the same sets of people are the ones who are disproportionately victimized by their pursuit of democracy and law and order. The same people. And so they can parade up these four chief police candidates and make it seem like, depending on which one they pick, it's going to change the way in which this institution works. It's going to change the way in which policing happens. It's some type of pendulum swinging. Each one of them people is going to be running the institution the same way. It's just about which one is more advantageous for them to parade out there for press conferences. That's it. That's it. That the Rockford Police Department will be just as racist under Carla Red as it'll be under Kurt Wisenhand or whoever the other two white men is that they got from out of town. It'll be the same way. Black police officers then put bullets up in black people in this city too. And again, it happens because you got a mayor in this city that is a moral coward. A mayor in this city that's a moral coward who is next to one of the people that's running for the chief. They have a family peace center where every person who is on the board of directors is white. Every person on the board of directors is white. I wonder, and they claim to say that they're doing this in an effort to stop domestic violence, an effort to stop domestic violence. And are you telling me that 100% of the people affected by domestic violence are white? If so, then the board of directors is not even the board of directors does not even properly display the people in which that you are dealing with. But they have no desire for that because that's not what the Family Peace Center is for. The Family Peace Center is a political tool for Tom McNamara, so that way when he decides to try to be the new Sherry Bustos or try to be the new Stottleman or whatever it is that he is planning to do politically after this, he can say, look at this Family Peace Center I built. Look at this nice thing that I did. Look at how I did. Look at how much domestic violence we've been trying to get up off the streets. Lying to people, lying to the public, telling them that domestic violence is the root of violence. Lie instead of saying racism, which is the root to violence, which is instead of speaking about misogyny and patriarchy and how those things are the root of violence, instead of speaking about how poverty is the root of violence, instead of speaking about how addiction issues, all these things can be traced as roots of violence, things that are actual and tangible. But if he was to to get up there and to speak about those things, he would have to put out some type of format or some plan to curb those things. And since he has no desire or no intellect or no competency to put out a plan to curb those things, he just pawns it off on domestic violence. And he tells you the apple begat the apple, not the seed. The seed did not beget the apple, or the seed did not beget the tree, and then the tree beget the apple. He wants you to believe the apple beget the apple. He don't want you to think what came first, the chicken or the egg. He wants you to think what came first, the egg or the egg, the chicken or the chicken. He's telling you violence is what causes violence. with no desire to speak about the root issues, because the root issues, especially in this city, are racism. Racism has led to the mass incarceration of the black people in this city and black people in this county. Racism has led to the miseducation of the black people in this city and the black people in this county. And it hasn't been a miseducation that has been done for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or 40 years or 50 years or 60 years. It's a miseducation, a purposeful intent miseducation that has been done for over 100 years here. A seclusion of a community that has been done for over 100 years here. A deprivation, a depriving of resources without giving anything back to a community and to a people that has been done for over 100 years here. And they want it to be done with compliance. And if you don't comply, they want it to be known that they will shoot you dead in the streets. Fear. Fear. That's the only weapon that they truly have at their disposal. It is fear. Fear is why these police officers illegally search people's cars. Fear is why these police officers illegally search people's houses. Fear is why these police officers assault people on a daily basis. Fear is why these police officers can gun people down in the streets with no consequences, get a pay raise and a bonus and an award for it. Fear, that is it. Not justice, not righteousness. None of those things. These police officers have 2 people accused of sexual assault that they are paying. Police officers accused of murder that's being paid. More than a license to kill, they got a bonus to kill. It's incentivized. Both people running for chief of police that's from this city have been involved in officer-involved shootings. Both of them. One of them murdered somebody. The other one, as far as the evidence shows, shot somebody for hitting their car with their husband, like they was Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's the type of city that this is. And the mayor, instead of trying to have a moral compass, instead of having a moral backbone, instead of being a thermostat, he wants to be a thermometer. He wants to be a thermometer. He wants to tell you what the climate is. We know that America is racist. You speak about how Rockford is racist. Speak about how you benefited off of racism, how you benefited off of white privilege, how you benefited off of white fragility. Speak about how you benefited off of the miseducation of black people in this same community. He benefited off of it on a regular basis. That's why he can run around here and take pictures with these Negroes. That's why the mayor can run around here and take pictures with these Negroes in this city. Is miseducation. That's it. In a community and in a city that was more educated, Tom McNamara trifling ass wouldn't get nowhere near no mayoral seat. Bill Rose trifling ass wouldn't get nowhere near an alderperson seat. Natavius Irvin trifling ass wouldn't get nowhere near an alderperson seat. 80%, 100% of these people that done sat in these seats in a city that was politically informed, in a community with black and brown people, with working class and poor people that was politically informed, none of they trifling asses would stand no chance of sitting on none of these seats. Their character don't demand for them to sit in those seats. Their integrity, their intellect don't demand for them to sit on those seats. They should be sitting their ass at home. These are people that are complicit with police terrorism, complicit with mass incarceration, complicit with racial injustice. This street done became the epitome of Rockford, Illinois. And it's the epitome of it when these police officers come out here playing with themselves while this racist motherfucker who run Rockford Orthopedic wash away chalk. That's an epitome of what this trifling ass city is. And then when one of these racist ass motherfuckers drive down here at 2 o'clock in the morning yelling nigger out their window, that's what this city is. That's what this city is. It ain't no fucking murals of Fred Van Vliet and Michelle Williams and the dude who made that documentary on Hulu or whatever. It ain't none of that shit. It ain't no murals or no sign language of RKFD. It ain't no murals or no goddamn butterflies. That ain't what this city represent. This city represent a black woman being slammed against a pole in the back of City Hall. It represent a trifling ass, no good ass cop choke slamming a 20-year-old on the ground in the back of City Hall while the mayor sit his ass at home. And the mayor don't say nothing about it. A mayor that can't say the name of the people that get shot down by his racist ass cops. That's what this city represents, and that's what this street is. This street is whichever one of these drunk, racist ass white motherfuckers that keep cutting these memorials faces, cutting these faces of these black people. That's what this city is. It ain't Tom taking no pictures with Fred. It's that racist ass motherfucker that lived behind old City Hall tearing down pictures of Faustin and tearing down pictures of Shannon and saying he tired of seeing their faces. That's what this city is. This city parade out black kids on a basketball court and a football field year after year with Thomas Jefferson, racist, trifling ass name on their back and chest. That's what this city is. This city is a city that was named as one of the most, having a school system that was maybe the most segregated in American history. The most segregated in American history. The federal government came to control over it. The moment that the federal government control was gone, it went back to doing the same shit it did before. But it's going to put a black person with one of their trifling ass high school's names on a mural. You tell them the history of Auburn. That's what you do. Don't paint no murals with no jerseys of Auburn. You start telling people the history of that school. Go parade all these cops out here in the middle of the fucking night for some chalk for this racist, no good ass motherfucker at Rockford Orthopedic. An hour later, got the whole bridge sold up because somebody probably done got fucking murdered. And if they was out doing their job, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But instead, they out here standing around in a circle washing away chalk. And I'm going to rock till the battery die. And I'm going to rock till the battery die. Call the police. That's what these motherfuckers do. A year ago, on August 1st, the racist, no good ass Peter Cabello or Steve Cabello, John Cabello, some shit like that, had a racist white nationalist rally, his little Back the Blue rally down at the Justice Center. Racist ass 21st century Ku Klux Klan rally. Motherfucker got up there and said that the police officers was angels. Got up there and said the police officers was angels. Less than 30 minutes later, those angels those police officers he called angels would stand by while a racist ass man slammed a young woman to the ground multiple times, slamming her to the ground, trying to steal her flag. The police officers would help this racist, no good piece of shit motherfucker steal the flag from her. They would help him to such an extent that his ass would do a live video later on and claim that he stole it from these is his words. These are his words, not mine. Said that he stole it from the B with the police assistance. With police assistance. And it's videos of all of this shit. All of the things that these Ku Klux cops have done for the past 13, 14 months have been kept, documented, and put out for the world to see, for the city to see. And each person that could do something about it. Because stop letting these moral cowards like Tom McNamara and Bill Rose and Vanita Harvey and Natavius Irvin and all of these motherfuckers who act like they can do nothing about this sick ass violence that these police officers do. Stop. They could do something. They do not feel so inclined. They do not feel so inclined because the climate does not force them to. They will not do nothing about these racist Gestapo ass cops and the violence that they portray out here until this city is burning to the fucking ground like Minneapolis or Ferguson or Watts. And that's historically how these racist motherfuckers work. And that's why they sending out all these cops over us. That's why they doing this shit. Because they know that each time, the further along that this go, the more straws that build upon this camel back, they know that the racist, bloodthirsty, racist ass cops that they give guns and tasers and nightsticks and all this other shit to, they gon' lynch somebody out in the streets. It's gonna get caught on camera, and then they gonna have hell to pay, and it's gonna be worse. It's gonna be 10 times worse if when that shit is caught on camera that we out here and we've been out here for 350 days or 400 days or 600 days. That's what they don't want. That's what they don't want. We playing the same game. See, for me, for us, this is real life. It's real life consequences. We going to jail. We going to court. We dealing with these things. So for us, these is real life ramifications. For these racist motherfuckers at Rockford Orthopedic, these racist motherfuckers that work in City Hall, these racist ass cops, they get to go home at the end of the day with no worries about going to jail. No worries about the real life ramifications. So for them, it's a game. But we on the same waiting game, motherfuckers. The same waiting game. How many more Tyruses can this racist ass system take? How many more Denzels? How many more Jose's? How many more Faustins? How many more Raymond Jacksons? How many more Logan Bells? Mark Barmores? Kerry Blakes? Geno Washingtons? Joseph McCormick's? Mikey Guzman? Lil Mike Sago? How many more can it take? We gonna stay out here and find out. We gonna stay out here and find out. And I promise you, CNN will be on your streets, Fox, whoever. Because I know what motherfuckers like Dominic McNeese do. What people like Carla Red, Kurt Wisenhand do. They murder and maim and rob and steal. And we gonna stay here and keep stacking up receipts. I hope we get 3,000 videos of you motherfuckers standing around washing away chalk in a city that got the issues that this city got. And I don't give no fuck about being labeled as angry or mad. Motherfucker, I am angry and mad. They out here killing people and murdering people. If you not angry or mad, that say more about your character than it say about mine. Again, whole street, whole bridge closed up. Whole bridge closed up down there. I told you that was gonna happen. I told you when I was doing the live that was gonna happen. I told you, city that boasted its most amount of murders last year. I told you motherfuckers. And they just sitting around here, standing around washing away chalk. 6 cars, unmarked. Pop in the trunk trying to measure out 50 feet. Trifling ass cop, racist ass cop. Going nowhere. You deal with police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, and then we can talk about going somewhere else. People, and I know people fickle. We will wait for them to feel real Black Lives Matter-y again in this motherfucker. We'll wait. We will wait. We will wait for people to want to make hashtags again. We will wait for people to want their picture to be black again on Facebook. We'll wait for people to want to put Black Lives Matter signs up again. We'll wait for Donald Trump to run his trifling ass for president in 2024 again. We'll wait. And when people start caring about black people and brown people being lynched in the streets by police officers, we'll be here. And we'll have all the receipts. And these light poles will be littered with those people, with those victims. And the chalk, that the names that we write will be all filled up and down the street. And motherfuckers will come here from Timbuktu to write in front of trifling ass Rockford Orthopedic. We will wait. This city has a reckoning coming. This county has a reckoning coming. And I might not be here to see the reckoning, but I promise you it's going to come. It's going to come. As you reap, so shall you reap. And I promise you, the sowing of violence, the sowing of racism, the sowing of bigotry, the sowing of exploitation, the sowing of oppression is going to reap it back tenfold upon this city and this county and the people who have benefited from it. I promise you. I promise you. So you get up and you go to church tomorrow. You get up and you go to church in the morning and you sit on them pews in the morning and you listen to whatever it is, that whatever rhetoric that your pastor or your priest or your reverend or your minister is going to espouse. And I want you to know that if they talk about judgment, they are talking about the city that you in. They talking about the shoes that you wearing, the pants that you got on. It's coming to your doorstep. It is coming to the doorstep of this city and this county. Jose Gonzalez Jr. shot while running away. Faustin Guaitigo murdered inside of his home. Raymond Jackson died because of a high-speed pursuit, because a police officer wants to be fucking Knight Rider, flying through the streets, because a police officer wants to be fucking Bow Wow on Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, flying through the fucking streets trying to chase people down. Instead of spending the millions upon millions of dollars that they have at their disposal to catch somebody a different day when it's safer, they want to get they fucking thrills off, they fucking rocks off by being out there and chasing people down in the street like they fucking Hobbs and Shaw. And that's what led to the death of Raymond Jackson. That cowboy mentality. Thinking they're fucking Chuck Norris. All these cops think they fucking Chuck Norris or Shaft. They think they Chuck Norris, Shaft, or fucking Olivia Benson. Each one of these motherfuckers. That warrior cop mentality. Still, bridge still shut down over there. Police still over there. Who knows? Imagine the amount of shit that was happening at this time of night in this fucking city, and these motherfuckers got 7, 8 cops out here. Jose Gonzalez Jr., Faustin Guaitigo, Raymond Jackson, all of their cases are being investigated by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force. The Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force has found every case that it has ever investigated to be justified. Every case to be justified. That is the type of corrupt system, the type of corrupt institution that is at play in this foul-ass county. Everyone, dating back to the 90s, there has been 50 plus incidents of in custody death or officer involved shooting, and each one of those incidents has been found justified. Not a single trifling ass cop has had to deal with the consequences of enacting violence onto civilians in this city and this county. They have a license to kill. They are fucking James Bond. Come out to Rockford, get you a gun and a badge, you get to be fucking 007. That is twice a year, on average, twice a year, at least. That is on average means at least. There's years documented where upwards of 3 people have been murdered. 3 people, and no officer been held accountable. Children, teenagers have been killed and murdered. Women have been killed and murdered. White people have died. Black people have died. Mexicans have died. Each time the officer has been justified. Black officers, white officers, purple officers, yellow officers, tan officers. It don't matter. Marvin the fucking Martian can come down here and get a blue uniform and shoot somebody in the face, and he will be found justified as long as he is still working for the RPD. As long as he still got that blue uniform. As long as he done ever had that blue uniform. Marvin the Martian can kill anybody he want. And again, that only happens because of compliance. It only happens because of people being mute And I'm not speaking about the families of these things that's happening. The families have never gone along with these things. The families have always kicked and screamed. But the problem is, it's not enough other people in the community kicking and screaming with them. I had somebody to use the metaphor of not wanting to always have to cry wolf about police violence. I heard somebody use that metaphor, and I understand. I understand that. And that's one of the reasons why I can't continue to be, again, speaking for me personally, why I can't continue with these things in the manner in which I do, because I understand the complacency. I understand the mentality of compliance. It's from the understanding that I know the severity of things that have to be done to uproot that mentality. I had to be shot in the face with a pepper spray bullet on May 30th, and for that lethargy to be shaken from me, for my consciousness to be awake from it. I had to watch black women be hit with sticks. I had to watch black children be pepper sprayed, black young men be tased while their arms was up. White people be threw to the ground and falsely arrested. That's the extra. I had to see a police riot for me to be waking up. So I understand what it's going to take for other people to be woken up. So we ain't going no fucking where. People should be trying to get here, be here, figure out how to be involved here. It is not a single issue in this depraved, decrepit city that does not emanate from this place. Because I used to hear all the time the saying, be careful what you think, because what you think becomes what you say. Be careful what you say, because what you say becomes what you do. Be careful about what you do, because what you do becomes who you are. And that is the exact way a city works. And the mayor, the elected officials, the order people, those are the ones who decide what the city thinks. Those are the ones who decide what the city thinks. And not so much in the sense of them saying, you think this way, so you think that way. But they tell you the things to think about. They tell you the things which should be on your mind, which should be at the forefront of your consciousness. It's the reason why when there's some money to be made, Tom stinking ass is a fucking round. It's the reason why when there's some money to be made, Tom trifling ass is a fucking round. But when it's time to have critical conversations about the dangers of alcoholism, when one of his order people is found drunk and urinating on himself and on somebody's garage door, instead of having a critical conversation about that in that time, he wants to pass the fucking buck off and say it's none of his business. Say he's going about the business of City Hall still. Now, what if somebody's child is to die in a drunk driving accident this weekend? And the mayor could have just had a conversation about the dangers of alcoholism, about the dangers of drinking and driving, about the dangers of unaddressed mental health issues. But instead of having that critical conversation, he passed the buck. And it's the same thing when state-sanctioned violence comes down. Instead of having a conversation about the history of racism in his city, the history of racism he has benefited from, instead of having that conversation, he wants to pass the buck. He wants to pass the buck. He wants to talk about wait and see. He doesn't want to say the name of the victim. He won't speak to the family of the victim. What type of sick motherfucker don't call the family of a victim of his police department? Acting all twitchy and scary when the mother of a young man who done been shot by your racist police trying to have a conversation with you, you acting all itchy and scary like you got fucking chicken pox. Can't have a conversation with the woman. Can't have an honest, genuine conversation with the woman. I done had racist ass bigots come up to this motherfucker I done gave more genuine time and compassion and listening to than you gave to that woman whose child had attempted to be murdered by your Gestapo police. Moral coward. And when that's the type of man who is at the helm of the city, who is the CEO of the city, it is no fucking wonder that it's racists running around this motherfucker dumping water on chalk. Racists running around this motherfucker tearing down memorials of teenagers who've been murdered. Racists running around this motherfucker spray painting the memorials of teenagers. Racists running around this motherfucker throwing paint on Black Lives Matter signs in front of churches. It's no fucking wonder. Because they know the type of mind state, the type of ideology that emanates from the city of Rockford government. And so as the city of Rockford has thought racist ass shit, it has spoken racist ass shit, and it has enacted racist ass shit, and now the city is fucking racist. And the people who have sat idly by while it has happened and has not said nothing to their racist ass fucking uncle or their racist fucking cousin or racist brother or racist father, now they're up in arms when people are speaking about the racism in the city because they're all, oh, shucks, it ain't me. You right, it's just everybody that you eat fucking dinner with. It's just everybody that you fucking work with. It's just everybody that you ride your carpool with. And so as long as these nasty, trifling ass, no good ass fucking cops is doing shit like coming down here and fucking harass, because that's what the fuck harassment is, motherfucker. 8 cops out here for some fucking chalk. Fucking top cop popping his trunk and measuring out fucking 50 feet trying to fucking arrest somebody on a fucking technicality. You sick fucking piece of shit. These motherfuckers using arrest as a fucking tactic, as a political tactic. That's fucking sick. If you believe in heaven and hell, it's a sick, burning ass place for you down there. I don't subscribe to that personally. But if you do, I want you to know that that's what the fuck you got waiting for you. These motherfucking racists at Rockford Orthopedic have a no stalking contact order out. A no stalking contact order. That's how sick they white privilege and they white fragility is. They done took they trifling ass to the courthouse and lied about being stalked. On the fucking order, it say that I'm considered to be armed and fucking dangerous. It ain't gonna be no 4th of July parades. Ain't gonna be no Memorial Day parades, no Labor Day parades, no city march. Nothing will happen in peace. These motherfuckers want to lynch people peacefully. They want to rape and pillage communities peacefully. They want to attempt to murder our babies in the streets peacefully. With no plans to change nothing. They ain't put out no plans to educate our babies no more. They ain't having no press conferences about, and I'm talking about truly educating. I'm talking about truthful educating, telling them about the sick ass city that they from, telling them about the sick ass people that done been in the offices that's holding these offices, telling them about these sick ass cops that's running these streets. They are purposefully miseducating these babies, having them take pictures with these stank, trifling ass, no good ass fucking Ku Klux cops. That's on purpose. Get a whole profile of you while they take it. Still got the bridge sold up over there. They almost done spent as much time over there as they spent on the chalk. Give it like 10, 15 more minutes. They haven't spent as much time over there as they spent on the chalk. We'll see which scene they can they get wrapped up quicker, the chalk or the what seemed to be a shooting down there. $500,000 at least overtime they spent on protests, on police and protests last year. On police and protests, upwards of $500,000 of overtime money. Are they gonna spend upwards of $500,000 of overtime money on this crime that just happened? Or are you to tell me that one person's life, or trying to solve the crime of what happened to one person, is not more important than policing a protest? That is what's to be said. For anybody who has a love, and for anybody who feels like they're upset because we don't put enough attention on on what would be quote unquote black on black violence or intercommunity violence, or the things that happen to white on white violence, whatever thing that you feel as if we do not put the proper acknowledgement on. I want you to ask yourself this. If that thing is important to the police department, if that thing is important to the city, important to the institution, have they put more money towards solving even one, just one? Because that would be more important. Because for us, we came out here and stopped all of this over one person at the beginning of this. That was what the beginning of this started over. One person. And it has extrapolated out to include multiple people, to include multiple families, to become inclusive of everyone who has dealt with this thing in the city. But at the initial basis, it was one. Ain't that's what I believe that's one of the stories in the Bible, or stories in one of the books of the Bible. Jesus talks about the shepherd that left the 99 to go find the one, because how important the one was. It was not the other ones, 99 wasn't important, but the one was the one. So you find me the one case that took place in the last 14 months since protesting has began, in which they have spent $500,000 in investigating, of overtime in investigating. You find me the one murder in which they spent an extra $500,000 of overtime investigating. You find me the one rape in which they spent an extra $500,000 of overtime investigating. You find me the one kidnapping. You find me the one sexual assault. You find me the one robbery. Whatever it is, you find me the one in which they have spent $500,000. You find that. You're not going to find it, because that's not where their priorities lie. Their priorities do not lie on catching all rapists, or catching all murderers, or putting an end to rape, or putting an end to murder, or putting an end to the selling of drugs, or putting an end to the selling of guns. That's not what they're here for. They're here to continue it. They're here to maintain it. And for a month, it wasn't no more shootings. It wasn't no more robberies. Wasn't no more rapes. Wasn't no more assaults. Wasn't no more any crime for a month. This city would lose all type of revenue. This county would lose all type of revenue. If it wasn't no more, if didn't nobody speed for the next week, these motherfuckers would lose their mind. They'd go around. They would just start rigging all the speedometers, which they probably already rigged anyways. But that's what the extent that they would go to. These people, jobs, their very jobs, every police officer, every state's attorney, every public defender, every judge, their very job depends on the maintaining of crime. It does not depend on the eradication of crime. They are not superheroes that are out here trying to catch all the villains so they can retire one day and sail off into the sunset. That's not what they're doing. They're here to they need to continue to have, they got 10-year, 20-year plans. It's somebody that's a police officer right now who plan is to be the chief of police. They plan not to be the police officer that get rid of all crime. They plan is to be the police officer that get paid the most from crime happening. And see, until you get to a place where you truthfully understand that, until your mind truthfully grasps that concept, you can't even have a dialogue or a conversation on the same level that we speaking on. You can't even understand the emotion that we have. You can't understand none of the feelings or the thoughts that we have. It's too complex for you. You still in the matrix, motherfucker. You still running around here thinking that these police officers is some people that you seen on is Mike Lowry off Bad Boys, and that they fucking the Punisher. They got these Punisher stickers. They got you out here thinking that they the Punisher, or they Spider-Man, or they Iron Man, and that the bad guys is Thanos, and the bad guys is Loki, and they just out here fighting a good fight, that they like Luke Skywalker or some shit. That's not the truth. Until you wake up, until you get past that point, until you realize that they are very existent. Every police officer that's riding around driving in a car, he got that car because of crime. No different than how somebody may view a drug dealer with a car. Ain't no different. They got it from the same. They got it out the mud the same way. It's just different sides of the coin. They are here to maintain maintain violence. They are here to maintain poverty, maintain racism, maintain bigotry, maintain injustice. And anybody who struggles against those things poses a threat to law and order. So they then become workers of violence to maintain law and order. I'm rocking till the battery die. When the battery die, I'm done. I go to sleep. This is what these police officers do. Again, May 30th, it was 1,000 people in these streets. If not more than 1,000, if not upwards of 1,000 in these streets after someone was killed in a different city. In a different city. And since that has happened, a man has attempted to be murdered by a police officer. Another man has, while he was running away unarmed, another man has been beat while handcuffed by, and one of the officers who did the shooting of the unarmed man was involved in the beating. Another man has been murdered in his home. A teenager has been shot while running away. And a high-speed pursuit has led to the death of an innocent man. All of those things have happened since May 30th, and it has not been anywhere near the presence. And I don't give a fuck about people being at City Hall. I don't give no fuck about that. But do something. We have to do something. We have to, and it can't be no more of this planning and talking and I'm gonna do this. Something. Do something. Doing something is better than doing nothing. And so we gonna stay. We gonna stay. Because I know how humans is. I know how this society works. I know how it works. And eventually it will be another Michael Brown. It'll be another Trayvon Martin. It'll be another Jordan Davis. It'll be another Sandra Bland. It'll be another Freddie Gray. It'll be another Oscar Grant. It'll be another George Floyd. It'll be another Tamir Rice. And then everybody will be up in arms. It'll be another Ahmaud Arbery. It'll be another Breonna Taylor. And then people will be up in arms again. And when that is, we going to be there with Jose Gonzalez Jr. name. We going to be there with Jose Gonzalez Jr. story. We going to be there with Faustin Guaitigo name and Faustin Guaitigo story. We going to be there with Denzel Duvant name and Denzel Duvant story. We going to be there with Tyrus Jones name and Tyrus Jones story. And we going to be there with Logan Bell name and Logan Bell story. We going to be there with Mark Barmore name and Mark Barmore story. We going to be there with Jovan Fresco story and Jovan Fresco name and Mikey Guzman and Shannon Graves, and the list go on. And each person that they continue to do this to, we going to be there with their name and they face and they story too. And we gonna have every way that they done struggled against us trying to have justice for these human beings documented on tape, documented on video. Because that's what they doing. These motherfuckers is out here struggling against us trying to get justice for human beings. And then they parading they ass down here in between the fucking U-Haul trucks and the big ass vacuums. And motherfuckers running around here clapping for them. You tell them about these police officers that done been out here getting these domestics. You tell them about that. You tell them about these police officers that's on paid leave for sexual assault crimes. These police officers think that they Olivia Benson will be getting rid of these motherfuckers that's out here doing sexual assault crimes on their watch. That's how they will write the show, at least. If they was writing the show, if you was really Olivia Benson, you would be getting rid of these no good ass cops that's on the payroll sexually assaulting women. But you ain't doing that. One of the women cops told me she don't have no opinions. She don't have opinions. I guess that's how she can work. That's how she can work with them officers, by not having no opinions. That's how she can work with officers that lynch people in the streets, by not having no opinions. Not having no opinions. Must be nice to be able to be out here walking around in America not having no opinions while you at work. I ain't never had no job I could just walk around the motherfucker not having no opinions. And that's part of your minority group. Anytime that you hear these motherfuckers at City Market talk about 60% minority, you notice they say and women. When you hear about some of these statistics that come out here when it talks about how many minorities fill the job, let it be understood that it's a whole lot of white women like that Winnebago County Sheriff Deputy who is one of them ones filling that roles who get at that job and she don't have no opinions. The same way when they fill the job with a black person, it's like one of these, like the house Negro. Like the house Negro, the house Negroes that was up here in blue uniforms out here trying to intimidate a black woman over a racist ass stalking no contact order put out by some racist ass white man. And then these house niggas gonna try to intimidate me and a black woman. That's what they do. They go find them the good old niggas that they can give a gun and a badge to, that they know don't mind beating a nigga head in, that they don't mind beating no black woman up, that they know don't mind pushing their weight around no black people. That's what they go find. That's what they go look for. That's what they go search out. That's what they do. They go find them somebody who they know gon' put the niggas in their place. And that's exactly what he was there for. Talk about what he don't got time to do. Again, these police officers come out here in the middle of the night regularly. They came out here in the middle of the night during the winter, tearing down memorials, stealing blankets, stealing hand warmers. They coming down here in the summertime in the middle of the night over chalk. Here go one of these trifling motherfuckers right here. Here go a couple of these trifling motherfuckers right here. Here go they trifling ass right here. Here go they trifling ass right here. Here go they trifling ass right here. Ku Klux cops. Ku Klux cops. Ku Klux cops. Look at this. They finna run the light. Look, they ass running the light. Look at they trifling ass running the light. Don't got nowhere to go. Don't got no fucking where to go. Running the light. Look, the light just turned green. Ran the light for no fucking reason. Look at they ass pulling off to the side. Let's see what they up to. We gonna see. They done pulled off to the side of the street. Pulled off to the side of the street. We gonna see. You don't never know. You don't never know what these Ku Klux cops up to. Never know what the Ku Klux cops got up their sleeve. You never know. You never know. I done seen it all. Done seen it all. And that's what we dealing with. That's what we out here dealing with. We dealing with a corrupt government. We dealing with a corrupt police department, a corrupt state's attorney's office, and the corruption of all these institutions has led to the erodation, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but has led to the complete corruption of this city, of this community. You can't, and it ain't no putting it on Trump. It ain't no putting it on Trump. It's McNamara. It's Hanley. It's ex-police chief O'Shea. It's intern police chief Randy Burke, who called the memorials of people who have been murdered by his racist ass co-workers trash. Called them trash. Called the memorials trash. See those sirens? Saturday night. Of course it was gonna be all types of shit popping off at night. Meanwhile, they out here for chalk. They're down here for chalk. And then they gonna sit up there and lie and tell you that all of these things is happening because of the community or because of things at home it's a character thing or it's a cultural problem. Hell no, that ain't what it is at all. It's racism. It's the things that the racism that generations of the people who live in this city, families done perpetuated and led to. Generations. Your dad, your granddad, your great-granddad, your great-great-granddad. that was around while all this racism and bigotry was permeating in this city and stood idly by while it happened. It ain't no surprise that we in the place that we in now. Go back and look at the history of this corrupt city. Look at the history of the corrupt school system. Look at the history of the corrupt police department. Look at the history of the corrupt sheriff deputies. Look at the history of the corrupt alder people. Look at the history of the corrupt mayors. Look at the history of the corrupt county board chairmen. Look at the history of the corrupt judges. Look at the history of the corrupt state's attorney's office. Look at those histories of corruption. It ain't no surprise that we in this place. It ain't no surprise. It ain't no surprise. 347. Battery gonna outdo me. I mean, that's it. All right. Rest in power, Logan Bell. Rest in power, Kerry Blake. Rest in power, Jovan Fresco. Rest in power, Geno Washington. Rest in power, Philip Johnson. Rest in power, Demetrius Bennett. Rest in power, Mark Barmore. Rest in power, Jasper Banks. Rest in power, Suzette Babler. Rest in power, Shannon Graves. Rest in power, Faustin Guaitigo. Rest in power, Mikey Guzman. Rest in power, Lil Mike Sago. Rest in power, Joseph McCormick. Rest in power, Eddie Patterson. We outside. Fuck the police. Especially the ones that came down here about this chalk. Fuck Rockford Orthopedic.